Yo, it's your boy AO, host of Lakers for Life Live, a platform for fans, by fans, a place where you can like it or hate it. Just drop a comment and debate it. If you're new to the channel, definitely, and you're on YouTube, hit the video with the like, subscribe, and tap in with me. We're doing this all season and into the playoffs. But a lot to talk about on this Saturday night. If you a late night hooper, want to talk Lakers ball, this is the spot for you. We got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the games, the recent games, the Sixers, and then tonight against the Warriors. We're going to talk about that Luke Kennard debut. We're going to talk about the trade deadline in general, buyout targets, and just what's ahead for the Lakers. It's a big stretch. We're down to 30-some games, and it's a big stretch for the Lakers. We have some big games coming up on Monday and Tuesday, which we'll get into. But good win tonight. Good win tonight for the Lake Show, albeit shorthanded on both sides. So, we had another big second half. Like what we saw against Philadelphia, where it was really sloppy, offensive play in that first half, and we turned it up in the second half to go get the win. Now, if we look at this, big picture for a sec, the Warriors were without Steph Curry. The Warriors were out Jimmy Butler. They were without Kristaps Porzingis, who they just acquired for Kuminga. Wild trade, by the way. Kuminga on the Hawks is interesting, and then bringing KP, who hasn't been very consistent, is also very interesting. We didn't have Luka. We know he injured his hamstring. It's coming out as a left or right. I'm not sure which leg it is, but a calf strain. They did say it was mild, so that is optimistic. And I'm not sure if he's going to play in this homestand, this back-to-back coming up, but the fact that it's mild and it's a hammy and we have All-Star break coming, which gives additional rest, that's as optimistic as you can be. But it's unfortunate that right when AR comes back, Luka gets hurt. I thought a surprise was DeAndre Ayton wasn't in the lineup today. Hasn't had great, play as of late, hasn't been finishing games, which, JJ has elected to go to other lineups that don't include DeAndre Ayton down the stretch, but he looks to be day-to-day too. So those were the two biggest injuries for the Lakers. We'll keep an eye out on it. But, let's get into the game. Man, was that a sloppy first half or what? Super low scoring. The Golden State Warriors shot 20% from three. I even took a note of this. They were 5 for 27 from three in that first half, 37% overall. That's a lot of volume and a half. They shot a lot of threes for the game. We'll get into the second half in just a sec, but we were only up one with that poor shooting from the Warriors. And we had a lot of zone in that first half. I don't think our defense necessarily played a part in their poor shooting. The zone was a little weak. And the Warriors were just missing shots. I mean, they still have shooters on the floor. Moody, Pat Spencer can hit some threes. Pajemski's streaky, right? So I was going into that first half, going into the second half thinking, okay, they're 5 for 27. We're probably going to see an uptick in that second half because that's just very poor shooting despite not having Steph Curry on the floor. And, if we don't get our act together, we may not win this game. And the Warriors were small. They didn't have KP. Horford didn't even start for them. Draymond started at the center spot. So they were small and they weren't shooting well. So I thought we'd get off to a better start. But our offense in that first half was just very, very sluggish. It wasn't fluid. There were offensive rebounds that we just couldn't complete possessions, and we were just tapping the ball out, giving the Warriors extra shots. And we should be controlling the boards with how much bigger we were compared to them. The turnovers were ridiculous, and we'll get into individual play. But from a turnover perspective, we finished with, check the stats right here, we finished with 22 turnovers against this Warriors team. Which they're still decent defensively, but 22 turnovers was absurd. I mean, LeBron James, another bad turnover night, 7 for him. But just really sloppy first half play. We weren't really hitting shots. We saw the Luke Kennard debut. He came out with a bang, had a deep three. We'll get into some notable performances in just a sec. But what really turned the game around, and guys, if you're new to the show, for all the 13 people in right now on the stream, drop your comments, drop your thoughts. I'm going to be responding to comments live within the show. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. If you disagree with my points, like it or hate it, drop a comment and debate it. But let's continue. So we were up 1 at the end of the half with how bad the Warriors were playing. And I'm thinking in my head what I just mentioned was, if we don't lock in, the Warriors start hitting some 3 balls, this could get ugly, and this is not a game we want to drop at all. We need to take care of business. And LeBron James, who didn't play well in the first half in the Philly game too. I don't know what's going on there, but just a lot of lack of focus on some possessions, careless passes, hasn't been too aggressive scoring, even with Luka out. But that changed at the start of the second half. He came out on a tear. I think it was a 9-0 run of just LeBron James. And that broke the game open, and I think allowed us to take a breath and control the game from here on out, from the third quarter start on out, right, when we got to that lead. I will say the Warriors had some big magnet ball. Moses Moody, Pajemski, Draymond knocked a couple threes down, and they backdoor the hell out of you. Absolutely backdoor the hell out of you. Some plays, I think we saw some double backdoor cuts. I think Richard Jefferson called it out. So a lot of ball movement on there, and we were getting thrashed on the back door. Jake LaRavia, by the way, was just lost today. Defensively, couldn't hit a 3 ball. That streakiness in his play is just, there's so much to be desired there. It's just, there was Gui Santos was killing us on the back door in that second half. Jake LaRavia was the recipient of a lot of those back doors. And, JJ elected to just not play him. And I thought that was a good call. He just did not have it tonight. But they backdoor the hell out of you, and those 3 balls really kept them in the game. We were up 12. They brought it back to within 3. If they may have even tied it, but a couple big runs for us. We had another run late game when Austin Reeves came back in, who I thought JJ Redick kind of left out for a little too long. I mean, he finished with, let's see what his minutes were on the night, 23 minutes, 57 seconds. They want to get him to 24 minutes. He's on that minute restriction still. And I hope that comes off pretty quickly because he looks good when he's in the game. His shot doesn't necessarily going down from 3, only shot 2 on the game, but really changes up the game. But we were able to pull it out. We had some big threes in the second half from Rui. Vando knocked down 2 threes. He was great today. And he's continuing to show why he's such a critical piece to our 10-man rotation. But the Lakers get a big win. They got a big win against the Philadelphia 76ers. They got a big win against the Golden State Warriors. And this was without Luka. It was a big comeback against Philadelphia without Luka. I really wish we got more reps with all of our trio. But, hey, we continue to stack wins. First comment of the night, Shay on the beat. What up, boy? Watcher of the show. Reeves brings a different energy compared to Luka. Teams play so much faster. Before we get into individual performances, let's hit that point. I thought that was a great comment. Thank you for that. Tap in, Shay on the beat. I put a post up on X that I'm going to read out to you. If you don't follow me on X, it's at World of AO. And after the Philadelphia game where Reeves went off for 33 points, crazy, crazy game against the Philadelphia 76ers, and the big reason for that comeback in the second half. But I had some crazy thoughts that night. And I tweeted this out. Austin as a 1A has been very, very good this season. I know this is completely asinine to say, but when I see these games and how the team responds to his play, I wonder if he is the guy we should build around. Luka is 100% the right answer. But why do I have that hesitant feeling? Very, very weird dynamic, very, very weird thoughts. And that goes back to Shay on the Beats comment of, I'm not trying to demean Luka when, as I say this. But Reeves not only can shred a team in the half court, has that court vision to get others involved, can score at 3 levels. He also pushes the pace, to Shay on the Beats point. LeBron gets out into more transition. You saw all of those dunks come in the second half of the Philadelphia game. Reeves pushes the ball, and he gets his players easy buckets at the rim or points in transition. And when you get those easy buckets, that energizes you. And we've said it for countless shows. If you've tapped into my live shows and my hitters, our best defense is when we get out in transition, score the ball, get that energy up, and then respond to it on the defensive end, right? And when we're not turning the ball over, we're getting out in the open floor, creating easy shots. That's our biggest defense. We know we're not a good defensive team, but play like that helps. And Austin, I always have said he's the connector between Luka and LeBron. LeBron plays really well off Austin. Luka plays well off AR, but he changes the dynamic of the game. And, to the post I meant, I think Austin Reeves can be a 1A on some of these bottom half teams in the NBA. He's that good now. And I think the league is still waking up to what he can do, even though he was having all-star and even fringe all-NBA numbers before he got injured and couldn't play for the month of January. He was an all-star, hands down. And don't be surprised if teams are asking about Austin, whether he's a good fit with Luka, even though we've seen strong play between Luka and AR. Time will tell, but he does bring a different energy, which is why he's been sorely, sorely missed. And I'm so happy to get AR back. If you know me, AR-15, that's my guy. I rep him since his rookie year. He's been my favorite player on the Lakers. They are the future duo. So how will JJ make it work? Crazy take. AR is a better 1A than Ant. Then that's how good he is. As crazy as it is, people would say, oh, the numbers don't back it up. But outside of these ramp-up games, Austin Reeves' numbers were better than Ant's. And I know that's crazy. Ant's the name brand player. He could be the face of the NBA if he got it together. 2 Western Conference Finals appearances. But he's multifaceted. I think Ant is a better 2-way player. But in general, in terms of just impact, AR is up there with the best of them. And people that are tripping about the $41 million contract we're going to give him are crazy. Go look on SpotTrack and look at the players around that dollar range. And you tell me how many are better than Austin Reeves. I would have you do that exercise. But having Austin Reeves back changes our team's dynamic. He is the engine that's going to get our offense going, especially when he's ramped up in those staggered lineups. The biggest thing to stay on the Beats point here is JJ will make it work. That's what I have to still see, is the synergy of the trio, because we still have to play LeBron, Luka, and AR at the same time. They're part of the starting lineup. They're going to be part of our closing lineups. And that's still something I need to see be more fluid and have more synergy to it. we've only had, I think, 9 games this year of the trio. So, and we had games last year, right? It was a lot of ISO. It was a lot of taking turns. But if JJ Redick can really crack that code and get them playing with each other, especially with Luke coming in, especially with Rui shooting the way he is, we have some players on this roster, but that big three changes up your offensive dynamic. We know we're not going to be a defensive team, but if you see what our rating is defensively in the clutch, we do have bursts of defense within a game. I said it on a live a few nights ago, maybe a week ago, but if we can sustain the big bursts of defense, which we've shown we can do, despite not having, elite two-way players, but we can scrap with the Vandos, the Smarts. When Jake is on, he's another one. If you can have it and extend those bursts for a little longer as we get towards the end of the season and apply more pressure and energy to these games, that offense, if you can find the synergy on that offensive side of the ball, that is what's going to keep you in the games against good teams. And then when that defense kicks in and we get out in transition, that's when you explode. And that's what I want to see more of as we get towards the end of the season. It's crunch time. It's close in the West. We need to see that synergy and that trio really work well together and truly be a top 5 offense in the NBA. I think we have the potential to be. We've had stretches where we've been very, very good offensively. We need to package that up and really be an elite offensive team. And if you can get to that 15 to 20th overall in defensive rating, but have really good bursts, and we optimize lineups where that defense comes in, and guys like LeBron lock in, Luka plays average defense. Reeves, to my previous point, may not be the two-way player Ant is on the Wolves, but he still scraps on the defensive end. He'll take a charge or two. Those plays change games. He just can't be the point of attack on the other team's best player. That's unfair. But you got guys like Smart. You got guys like Vando. So not a crazy take. I'm right there with you, Shay on the beat. And y'all, if you're in this chat, head on over to YouTube, drop your comments. I'm responding them to all of them. Don't be shy. Call me out. This is a channel for fans by fans. But let's get into some individual performances tonight. I thought there was, we're going to go straight to Luke Kennard. Debut from Luke Kennard. We traded him for Gabe Vincent. We gave a second-round pick. And we opened up $500K of salary, which we'll get into at the tail end of the show. But I do not miss Gabe Vincent at all. I am so happy. I still have critical feelings about Rob Pelinka. And if he's capable of really building the team we need to truly contend next offseason, I'm going to do a whole live show on Rob Pelinka. That's going to come. And y'all, if you're tapped in with me, y'all need to subscribe, hit the like button in the video, hit the notifications, because you are going to want to be on that show. And I'm hoping I can bring a guest or two to talk through that. But I am just very happy, first of all, that Gabe Vincent, Mr. Cardio himself, the dude running up his steps on his Apple Watch, is off this team. He was a complete disappointment. We got bamboozled. He was not even close to the player he was on the Miami Heat, which pisses me off because it's another MLE that we just wasted. He's advertised as a POA defender. At times, maybe some defense, but truly undersized, just tiny. And I don't think the defense really made an impact. You got a big guy on the switch, take him to the post, barbecue chicken. I'm glad Rob Pelinka, if anything, saved JJ Redick from himself, because my God, did he have an affinity for Gabe Vincent. And the minutes he played him were egregious. Egregious. But on to Luke Kennard, sharpshooter, laser, career 44% shooter on 4.5 attempts. He's had some big attempt years. I did a thread on X at World of AO if you didn't get a chance to read it, but good player. good players. Some years where he shot 50% from three. He's shooting 49% this year. 2 for 4 tonight. And it's not just the shooting that Luke Kennard brings. If you watch tonight's game, the man has IQ, big IQ. He can take care of the ball. He had a turnover too today, but he has strong IQ. He on the ball, he is good. He had a great skip pass today where AR hit him in transition. Defense gravity towards him because he can hit that three. We saw him bang 2 threes today. One from deep that was contested, one wide open three in transition. But the gravity is so strong. Austin skips a pass to him in the corner. Defense collapses on him. He finds Vando open underneath the basket. He can make those passes. He can put the ball on the floor. He had a couple finishes at the rim today. I wouldn't say he's an elite or even great finisher at the rim. I'd have to check the metrics, but he does get to the midi. And he does attract gravity. I think that's the biggest thing. Gabe Vincent was a streaky shooter. And he had some stretches where he did bang some threes in. But you're talking about a guy that his job, his MO, his pedigree is hitting wide open threes. And I'm so happy we got at least a laser. Yes, his defense is not going to be great, although he has the IQ. So in a team defensive setting, that's big. You make the right rotations, you make the right plays. Maybe you get cooked in isolation, but team defense, especially in the playoffs, making sure your rotations are good is big. And the fact that, there were so many games that we've had where we just can't knock down a shot. We finally paired a guy like Rui Hachimura who could be on one wing, and then you got Luke Kennard in lineups on another wing. Those are two very good shooters that just open up the floor for guys like AR, for guys like Luka, for guys like LeBron, really for Luka and AR to cook. And I think there's going to be actions where they're going to be able to get to the lane more. They're going to be able to find their players because you can't hedge off of Luke. He takes high-quality shots, and I'm hoping that volume with Luke Kennard goes up. I don't want those 4.5 attempts. I'm hoping we could get him to 6, 7 attempts a game. And even if he can maintain 40% from three, that is big. That is big. And again, and we're getting more points is he looks confident, he looks smart, and that's that IQ. I think he's going to fit in very nicely. There's going to be some games where we get frustrated because of that defense. Teams are probably going to hunt him out. But that takes lineup optimization. And if you're that elite offensively, and again, back to my point of having bursts of defense when the game's on the line against good teams, having that pedigree on offense allows you to stay afloat. Those defensive stretches will allow us to, really take over games and hopefully close out those games against the good teams. And we're needing those signature wins. We need them badly. I'm not saying Luke Kennard is going to be an end-all, be-all, but shit, for Gabe Vincent, I will give Pelinka some credit on that. Although I'm going to be very critical on what's going to almost seem like an indictment show of Pelinka, but damn. And we're going to get into a couple more things around the buyout market. And if Pelinka does another move or two, what that can mean for the Lakers, So I'm glad, if anything, Pelinka got rid of a player that wasn't really making an impact in my eyes, at least. Laker Nation, you tell me, everyone on the chat, were you Gabe Vincent fans? You tell me. Let me know. If you a Gabe Vincent fan, let me know why. Why are we going to miss him? Please. Please. I would love to hear it. But Luke, if you didn't get the center you wanted or we needed, right, because Ayton's not the long-term center. I'll have a point to that in a little bit. You didn't get that wing. We wanted a 3-and-D wing. We couldn't get that. We were constrained with the resources we could use for a trade. And, Rob Pelinka had some quotes out where they were aggressive, and it's aggressive to also deny or decline trades that are coming from teams that aren't good for the short or long term. Say on the beat, man, I don't know if I'm completely buying into Rob, but there's some reports that came out that said that, the team is really going to invest into their front office personnel, really model the Dodgers. And I'm hoping that happens because I think Pelinka as a standalone decision maker may not be the best. But if he's got real basketball minds around him, things can change, right? But Luke Kennard, I'm not going to say it was an overwhelming debut. I think it was solid. Rui Hachimura, 18 points on the night, 4 for 5 from 3. He hit some big corner threes in that second half, boy. And they were huge. They were threes. The LaRavia was not hitting. He was 0 for 3 on the night. Those threes from Rui allowed us to withstand the blows from the Warriors when they started to get that magnet ball in the second half. And when you have lasers on that, if you can't defend, if you're able to withstand the blows off, that's big. And again, those lineups with Rui and on one wing and Luke Kennard on another wing are going to be crazy. Crazy. LeBron James, 20.7 rebounds, 10 assists. He was 6 for 17 and not a very efficient night from the field. 2 for 7 from 3. He's struggling a bit offensively. There was that sequence on X where the dude just couldn't even handle the ball. I'm not sure what it really is. He had 7 turnovers on the night. It could just be a wall before he gets loose to end the season. We know he steps up his game this time of the year. And he had that big burst at the beginning of the third quarter, and that really changed the game. So I'm not going to take that away from him, but offensively, it's been a little weird. Marcus Smart, 15 points on the night, went to the free throw line 9 times, made 8. Those were huge, and especially in that third quarter, he wasn't completely a loose cannon on the offensive end. I thought he really helped us. He was big. 2 blocks from him. Keep going down. So an interesting one, Vando. I thought he had a terrific game and is playing some great basketball from the Lakers. 13 points, 8 rebounds. He hit 2 threes, had 2 steals, a block, plus 11 on the night. Plus 11 on the night. And I don't know if I could get his 3-point percentage on the year. He had a stretch where he wasn't. Let me go on NBA.com real quick. Vando's 3-point percentage this year is 30% on 1.7 attempts. So not great. He had a stretch where he was shooting really well. I hope the goal would be to get up to 35% and he can bang that 3 with some consistency in the corner. But that aside, I think he's playing some really good basketball on the defensive end. He had a play where he pump faked, and I don't know why Quentin Post would go for a Vando pump fake. You immediately get pulled for that type of defense, and I think he did. But Vando hit a pump fake, got to the lane, and finished. And we know he's not a great finisher. He's been better as of late. But if he can roam, finish, point blank shots at the rim, attack the space, he can put the ball on the floor. I really hope he continues to develop his game because I want to see him. I think he's definitely solidified in our 10-man rotation, but I want to see him make a difference in the playoffs because that defense, it does change the game. We've seen it. We've seen what his energy does when you pair him with another Banshee. You see him energize guys like Rui, and that's big. So I'm hoping Vando continues this play. He's starting to come around. But Austin, 16-5, 8 assists, 2 steals. He was a -1, which, oh, man, I know I'm using plus minuses, and I hate to use plus minuses, but I do think in his final stretch of the game today, he really changed it up. He had some great demon crossovers to get to the rim, which were huge. 5 for 10 on the night, 0 for 2 from 3. I thought he played well. He had 5 turnovers. I'm going to cut him some slack, but, we talked about Reeves at the top of the show, and I think, he deserves, the respect because he is a game changer. And I think, again, he's going to be that big connector piece between Luka and LeBron. Now, here's an interesting player that I'm going to talk about. And I think I want to hear y'all comments. If you in this chat, drop your comments. But Maxi Kleber, he had an impactful game against the 76ers. He's not going to show up in the box score, but makes big defensive plays, can get physical. You can actually switch with him on the floor. Doesn't do too bad on the perimeter. Three-point shot hasn't come around, but I like his physicality in games. And today, 5.7 rebounds. He had a block, plus 12, highest on the team. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not. There's a lot of mixed reviews on Maxi Kleber. I've hated him at times, and I know everyone wants to get rid of him. But here's what I'm thinking. I think he's been playing well in the minutes he's been getting. JJ went with him down the stretch today. And I'm almost thinking that if Maxi Kleber actually got some consistent run, we played him in a real role, he starts to get his legs going again. He starts to understand where he fits in the lineups that he does play in. I wouldn't mind throwing him out there a little bit more, maybe driving some consistency. And if that three ball were to come around, and I know that's fantasy land, but if that three ball came around for Maxi Kleber, he adds another dimension to our big rotation. He gives you insurance if DeAndre Ayton doesn't have that motor when he starts games. Jackson Hayes, we know his IQ woes, especially in the playoffs. Maxi Kleber's been battle tested in the playoffs. Hey, instead of waiving him, I think we give him some run and really see what he can do. If he can get his legs under him with some real rotation minutes, maybe we see something. Have we given him a real chance this season yet to prove himself? I mean, we've seen some bad flashes, I'll give you that, but Maxi Kleber, maybe he's that guy. And, he adds a different dimension to our big rotation. Maybe he's an unlock. We have the roster what we have now. So if the back half of this year is optimizing some players, and if he's got it going and he's got the right matchup, let's give him some burn. Let him get some minutes. Let him get that confidence up. We've seen what he's done in previous years, especially when he was younger. I don't think he's ever going to be that player again, but maybe there's something there. Laker Nation, I mean, you tell me. Keep the comments going. If y'all in here, drop that comment. What y'all think of Maxi Kleber? Should we give him a chance? I think we should. I think he gave us some good minutes tonight. But good win. We got a crazy back-to-back coming up. And Luka, we said it at the top of the show, I don't think he's going to be playing Monday and Tuesday we got OKC, who I think will be without SGA. And then we got the Spurs, who are playing real, real good basketball. Second in the West. They get after it. We saw what they did to us last time we played them. Wasn't good. So I'm fully expecting Luka to not play. We'll see if Ayton plays. We know Ayton's had a good game against Wemby earlier on in the year. We've also seen some bad games from DeAndre Ayton. But Austin Reeves is back for this one. So I'm looking forward to this next back-to-back stretch. They're going to be test games. We know how we do against teams that are over 500. At minimum, the floor is you need to compete. And based on how we played in the first halves in games against Philly, games tonight, that's not going to cut it against these teams. Even without SGA, and the San Antonio Spurs get after it with all their players. Stephon Castle just had a 40-point triple-double. Dude is insane. De'Aaron Fox, third option right now. They're good. We need to show some fight in those two games. It's time to really flip the script and get after it. I really hope we see some good play from LeBron. Maybe he was kind of resting up tonight. He knows we have a big stretch. Because I'll tell you this, the Lakers are 32-19 on the year, 13 games above 500. And Raj Chapalu has mentioned it on his shows a few times of the Lakers are 10 games, 11 games above 500, but we constantly get talked about like we're like a 500 team. And I mentioned on another show, when you have games like you have against the Knicks, where you let a team just get loose and you kind of really punt the game, these are the dark clouds that are over the Los Angeles Lakers right now, where they just don't get up for those signature marquee games. How many games on national TV have we seen just choke? That 30-point loss against the Cavaliers. So when we are 32-19, which is a very impressive record, we're on pace for 51 wins. Why do we get talked about it? And it's because of these marquee signature games. What was the last signature win that we got? I can't even remember. Maybe it was Denver, but people will say, it was still a good win without Jokic, but Jokic wasn't playing. They were still playing good basketball. But it's been a minute since we've just seen a good, even if it's a hard-fought, gritty, ugly game, but turns out to be a win against a good over 500 team, especially the elite in the NBA. Last time I checked, we were under 500 against over 500 teams. So when the media or people talk about us and they don't give us the credit a 32-19 team should get, it's because we haven't been able to even compete in these games against good teams. And we're getting the West's best on Monday and Tuesday. I don't know why they're back-to-back. Silver's on one for the scheduling, but I really hope we take those games seriously. And I think having Austin Reeves back is going to help us tremendously because of the dynamic play he has on the offensive end and the variation he gives us to our offense. But the next stretch of games are big for the Lakers, but I'm really honed in on Monday and Tuesday. We've seen what OKC did to us that first time around. 30-point blowout. That game was over in 10 minutes, if that. Just completely shellacked. We didn't give a bleep. And I'm really hoping the team gears up for that. We get a good shooting night. We got Luke Kennard, to help space the floor. Now, Vando's playing better basketball. You got emerging guys, potentially Maxi Kleber. A key to those games, though, is going to be DeAndre Ayton. It's going to be, we need our stars to play well. That's a given. LeBron and AR got to be two of the top three players on the floor against both OKC and San Antonio. But DeAndre Ayton, when he drops 15 and 10, he's feeling on the offensive end. He's getting easy buckets. His motor starts to go up on the defensive end. We need him to play well in those games. We need those 15 and 10 games for us to have a chance in those games. He got outplayed thoroughly by Cat in that New York Knicks game. And you saw what the outcome was. Cat was getting nothing but offensive rebounds. It's not like Brunson or even Cat had a great game. So that's kind of the key. That back-to-back needs to be taken seriously. And again, I don't think Luka is going to play. I think it's better off he doesn't play this week. Let him take a break over All-Star and then come back for the final, 28, 29 games, and we really get after it. But I still want to see this team compete. I don't want us to give up. I don't want us to see, when we go on a drought, the defense starts to lose energy and effort, and then the game just gets broken wide open, and it's too much to even counter, right? We need to show some fight. We need to execute on the offensive end. We can't turn the ball over the way we've been turning the ball over. And I'll say it time and time again. Our best defense right now, because we're not going to be a great defensive team, our best defense is making sure we execute cleanly on the offensive end. We don't let teams get easy buckets, because when we do that, we don't get back in transition, games get loose. If we tighten that up, we have Austin Reeves back to push the pace, that's when you're going to get, you're going to have a chance in the game. And, we'll see what Luke Kennard's spacing does to those defensive coverages that San Antonio and OKC throws at us. Can you really blitz in Austin Reeves with Rui and Kennard on both wings with LeBron in the cut? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be able to help too much off of those shooters from the corners. So I'm very interested to see now that we have a couple lasers what that does. But guys like Jake LaRavia, who pissed me off today, I mentioned at the top of the show, just was not good. He can't play that way. We are 51 games into the season. He needs to find some consistency. And if it's just playing hard on the defensive end, making hustle plays, getting offensive rebounds, locking in on the defensive end, exuding some physicality, which we've seen he's done, on guys like even Kawhi, not to say he stopped them, but he showed a level of effort that does change the game. We need him locked in on that end. Now, can he hit an open three? Because teams are going to give it to him. They're going to dare him to hit those shots. We need those threes to go down. We need him locked in. It's going to be a collective effort. Because when we get that bench play, when we see some threes get knocked down from Smart, from LaRavia, even Vando, right? Rui's doing his thing that we know he can do. And now you got a laser in Luke Kennard over at Gabe Vincent. Collectively, Jackson Hayes has activity. DeAndre Ayton is locked in. We see what kind of team we can be. And I really, really want to see that in these next two games because the schedule is going to get tough to end the year. So we gotta show what we're made of, even without Luka. Go pull out a win. They don't got SGA. If OKC doesn't have SGA, go pull out that win. Go pull out that W. Because we know how good OKC is even without some of their star players. Still a good win in my book. And then San Antonio's a test too. They're going to get after it. Wemby, no answer for him. I think we've shown some good coverages at times where we crowd him, make him be a playmaker, hoist up threes. But you crowd him, you make other players have to score, Stephon Castle, the rest of the team. You get yourself a chance. That's what it really comes down to. Give yourself a chance and take it to the clutch, lock in defensively, and go steal some wins. So that's going to be big. That's going to be big. I'm looking forward to these two games. Minimum floor, I want to come out with one. That OKC game, you hit 2-0. We on our way. You lose both. If it's competitive, I don't like moral victories, but I'll give some credit to 0-2 with some hard-fought wins, down to the wire type wins, or losses, sorry. Down to the wire losses. But if we go 0-2 and get shellacked, it's going to be the same narrative around this team. We can point to Luka not playing, and we can continue to kind of, hey, we haven't had the trio together, but it's not like the trio looked great when they did play. So we've actually had better situations when two of the three play together. Those lineups seem to be a little more optimized, but Monday, Tuesday, going to be big wins. If y'all in the chat, Laker Nation, tell me what's up. What y'all think of OKC and San Antonio? Are we getting the dubs? We going 1-1? We going 0-2? But to kind of finish off the show, we do have the buyout market. The trade deadline's over. We've seen some interesting names on the buyout market. Haywood Highsmith just got released and bought out. He's been injured for most of the year, but was expected to make his debut February 11th. That's probably the closest thing you're going to get to a 3-and-D player on the buyout market. Not a name brand player. I may not have the same defensive efficiency like when we brought in DFS, but it gives you another option. And we've seen him have some good moments in his Miami days. Big player. The games that LaRavia is off, maybe he can get it inserted and, change the game up, maintain, be able to fill in the gap Jake LaRavia might have or a Rui might have on an off night. He's at the top of my list. Matisse Thybulle. If you watch my my off-season shows, I'm I'm enticed. He's also been a player that's been injured. There's been reports that he's been wanting to play with Luka, especially when Luka was in the Mavs for a very long time. 3-and-D player. The shot has gotten better. The defense isn't all the way where it used to be. He could be a Vando type, but he's another interesting player too. And it gives you some insurance or hedge with our one-way kind of specialists like the Vandos, like the Smarts, or they can do good things, but if they don't have it, you can insert another set of players to hopefully kind of weather that storm. I don't know if Tybal has a clean bill of health or what his injury, status is going to be, but if he is showing that he can play and he was ready to play, that is an interesting name as well too. Now, where I think it could get interesting is we were talking about the centers, how DeAndre Ayton may not be a long-term center for us. We know Jackson Hayes' play has been good at times, great at times in the regular season, but we saw what happens in the playoffs. And Maxi Kleber is still an emerging, kind of getting his legs under him, needs some rotation minutes to really see what he can do. Maybe Pelinka goes after a center. And my eyes are on Robert Williams on the Blazers. If he gets bought out, they got to release one more player. And Portland's making a push right now for the play-in. So I don't know if they're going to buy Robert Williams out. But if they do, that's probably immediately your number one player you're going to go after. Even if you have 4 centers on the team, you can get creative. Maybe you can run some double big. Robert Williams to anchor for 10, 15 minutes a game, especially in big games. With the Kleber out there, with the Vando, with the LeBron. Like, there's a lot you can do with Robert Williams, especially when DeAndre Ayton doesn't have his motor. I think he'd be interesting, even with the injury woes. You play him selectively. You know what he can do. And when we need him in the right moments, you're able to unleash someone that can truly be an anchor on defense and can protect the rim. The guy was a DPOY candidate in previous years. Injuries have stopped him, but I'm looking to see if Portland, the final player they drop is Robert Williams. That's going to be at the top of my list. There's been some mention of Nurkic on Utah, especially with the JJJ signing. They have Kessler, who's injured. We'll see if he gets bought out. I'm not sure. That could be an option. He can stretch a bit. We know he's not the most physical, but he can be a good rebounder at times. He did some good things over in the Sun when he was on the Suns. He's kind of a Maxi Kleber type, maybe not the same physicality or tenacity, but strong player. And I think there's some things that he can do with the ARs, the Lukas, where we can maybe optimize his game. That's if you want to go the center route. But I'd say the players that I would like would be Highsmith, Robert Williams if he gets bought out, and Matisse Thybulle. Those players intrigue me quite a bit. I don't think Cam Thomas is what we need, even though he's going to be a great get for someone that needs a burner off the bench. I don't think he's that guy. Then there's the CP3s. I think Mike Conley's going back to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll see what other, when the trees shake, if any other surprise players come out. I think that's what we're waiting for. To give you some quick cap economics, with the Luke for Gabe trade, we opened up $500,000 more. We were only $1 million under the first apron. We now have $1.5 million, which is huge. If you think about it from a prorated veteran minimum salary perspective, I was reading that it comes out to around $700K and some change, depending on how many days you're able to go out. Maybe you sign someone after All-Star break. The last bit of trees get shaken during that time. But if it comes down to that $700K number, maybe you can get 2 players, but that would take waiving a player. You're not going to probably waive Dalton Connect because he's got another year. That player is most likely Maxi Kleba. Maybe some. That's really the person that you would waive. You're not going to waive Bronny James, which is wild, which is crazy that he's going to have a roster spot over a guy like Maxi Kleber who could maybe have some utility, as we've seen today. But I'm not sure we're necessarily gonna do that or really convert a two-way by waiving a Kleba. I don't know if that's the smart move to make, even if it's a guy like Drew Timmy. I think Maxi, with the fact that he's been in the league, he's played in playoff games, he has that veteran pedigree. It's not someone you want to lose, especially just waive. But we do have that 15th roster spot that's dead currently, and $1.5 million to make a compelling offer to the best of the best buyout candidates. And if Rob Pelinka were to pull a Robert Williams, a Highsmith, a Tybal, these were players that we were talking about in the offseason. You're essentially doing kind of a ghost trade by getting them in the buyout, right? Where you stayed par, you picked up a guy like Luke, and then you went and got a player that we were interested in the offseason for essentially free, right, for the year, with that $1.5 million in cash. And if he is able to swing another buyout player, I know Middleton's out there too. I'm not sure how much juice he has. I just got the news right now. It looks like Kobe Buffkin is now to a 2-year deal. Wow, that is interesting. Kobe Buffkin is on a 2-year deal. Wait, what? Did we sign him with our last roster spot? Wow. Okay. We just filled, breaking news, we just filled our 15th roster spot, signing Kobe Buffkin on a 2-year deal, team option on the 2nd year. Wow. I don't know how I feel about that, Laker Nation. If you all are reading it right now, he's been doing work in the G League. But does that mean we talked to buyout candidates and they didn't want to come to LA? Are we going to waive another player and bring someone in? Wow, that is news to me. I'm not sure. I've never had breaking news on a live, but it's not the biggest move, but we just spent time talking about buyout candidates with that 15th dead roster spot, and now Kobe Buffkin is the 15th player. And I don't know if this means that we're not going to have anyone on the buyout market come, or if there was any interest, or if we're going to waive another player. You don't really have very many options to waive unless you just completely punt on Dalton Kennard, which would be insanity. To lose another first-round pick for absolutely nothing. I was just going to say, we'll see what Rob Pelinka does with the 15th spot for me to determine how hard to go on him in what's going to be kind of an indictment episode of Rob Pelinka. I'm not sure if I like Kobe Buffkin being in that 15th roster spot. You already have Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. Maybe another 10-day, but you have your ball handlers. You got the Smarts. You got the Luke Kennards. Is he a bad player? No. I don't want to say he's a bad player. He's been absolutely murking in the G League, like on some he needs to be in the NBA type games. But to fill our 15th roster spot this early, I'm going to have to see the TL. We can go through some. Let me see what the comments look like real quick at the top of Sham's tweet. No buyout player, WTF. Are we still waiving anyone? So no Highsmith or Tybal? Nice. Another guard who won't play. Okay, Mr. Pelinka, you're gone by June. Rob full of shit. Cam Thomas is out there. If you were to want to sign Kobe Buffkin, why wouldn't you just go get a burner like Cam? Waive Dalton Connect. I don't know. Laker Nation, if you got any thoughts about Kobe Buffkin in that 15th roster spot, we're locked. The roster's locked now. Unless you waive a player, and I don't know what the details is on how much cash he took up, but I'm not with it. I'm not with it. I think it's way too early. Unless Rob has a plan, it's way too early to be locking up your final roster spot. And if your move is to waive Dalton Connect for another buyout player, cool, but you just murked another first round pick and got absolutely nothing for it with no player development potential. And we're going to get into that in the Raw Pelinka indictment episode. I don't know what I'm going to title it just yet, but if you're on this live, we're going to have some good things coming up. Definitely some lives after that back-to-back. Subscribe to the channel. Tap in with me. Like the video. Turn on your notifications. All the stuff that, all the other pods say. Please, we're a growing channel. And again, this is for fans by fans. I love Trevor Lane. I love Jovan. I love Raj. They're great. The Lakers Collective pod. I listen to all of them. But this one is for fans by fans. We're trying to build a community. We're trying to, if we're going to have the highs, we're going to have the highs as a fan. If there's lows, we're going to be emotional. I try to keep it a bit PC, but I'm mad at something and I might overreact. That's when y'all can like it or hate it and drop a comment and debate it. And, call me out. Ain't no, personal feelings here. We just all love Laker basketball and we're all fans. And the banter is what makes this, great. We got some cool things coming up. I do hitters after most games. I'd say the majority. Tap in with me on X at World of AO. And let's see what we do on the back-to-back, Laker Nation. But a lot of stuff that we've broken down. I hope y'all enjoyed the show and stayed, locked in with me. Shout out to Shay on the beat for the questions that he posed and the takes. I want to see more of that. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We're all just building the community. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. I know that's not a lot. To me, that is. We're building this thing from the ground up, from the mud. And we're going to do some cool stuff along the way. So until next game, let's stay locked in. Have a good rest of the weekend. Peace.